I guess I have to, no, I don't guess. I'm very confused about this, okay? So I hope you understand. If I hem and haw around, I'm actually in the weeds here. I'm not sure exactly how to put this, or maybe even what I really mean. But I think I made a big mistake yesterday when I said that there comes a time when the progressives have got to give and the moderates have got to give, and we've got to compromise and reach an agreement on these bills that are the centerpiece, the keystone of the Biden administration. And that if we do nothing, if nothing happens, if nothing passes, if the promises that were made during the Biden administration aren't fulfilled, then Biden will be, as I said yesterday, a one-term president, and the next president will be a full-blown American fascist. And it will be a man, he will have a full-blown Christian fascist Senate and full-blown Christian fascist House with which to work. He already has a Christian fascist Supreme Court. And in light of that, I start to panic because I start to think what this country is facing and what is probably going to happen. Not possibly anymore, but probably. And my reaction to that, to thinking about that, is to look for some way to bring all this together and prevent it from happening. To throw up the barricades, to say, no, we can't lose our democracy now. We can't. We're on the verge of either total collapse or rebirth of what the framers put in the Constitution, most of which we have not abided by. But it's there. It's in the documents. So we're at this moment in American history, right? And there's so much bullshit that is happening because of what the orange bastard left us, what Trump left. And all the crises that we're facing, whether it's the pandemic or global warming or the collapse of American infrastructure or the millions of people that are still living in poverty or the unemployment it just goes on and on and on. And in moments like that, I'm sorry to admit, I have a tendency to try to find the easiest solution. And then since last night, I've been listening to Representative Jayapal. I've been listening to Representative Omar. I've been listening to progressives throughout the Democratic and House and Senate. I've been listening to Elizabeth Warren. I went back and read some of the things that Bernie Sanders has talked about. And I think about all the times when the progressives, the real Democrats, people like Manchin or the typical Democrat is not a Democrat. Let's face it, he or she isn't. They still are members of the Democratic Party, but they vote in a way that clearly indicates that the foundational beliefs in the Democratic Party have either been so diluted as to render them almost invisible, or these Democrats just don't believe it anymore, except for the Progressive Caucus. I also didn't realize how big the Progressive Caucus is. 80 or 90 members of the House consider themselves part of the Progressive Caucus. Now, I knew the number, but it didn't occur to me how representational that was of the House of Representatives where it concerns the Democrats. Okay, so all of this stuff. I sat on the back porch last night musing over all of these thoughts and ideas and aware of what's happening in Washington. Suddenly occurred to me, Malloy, you chickened out. You really did. And I don't like to feel that way. I like to feel that I can find in my little world and in my thought processes, I can find a compromise, something that will allow me to say to myself, okay, you didn't go to this extreme, you didn't go to that extreme, you found compromise in the middle. And then I'm reminded of what's his name? Former Texas Agriculture Commissioner used to say, The only thing you find in the middle of the road is a yellow line and dead armadillos. So I thought about all this stuff last night, and I realized, you've got to go on your podcast in the morning tomorrow, and you've got to straighten this out. Now, this is similar to what I went through with in a manner of speaking, what I went through with Trump and Clinton. But it wasn't Trump and Clinton. It was Clinton and Sanders. And I pushed the Bernie Sanders presidential bid in 2016 as hard as I could during the year and a half prior. Because I believed in the man. I still do. I believe in the progressive agenda. I believe in social democracy or democratic socialism. I really don't give a shit how it's labeled. But I knew what was going to happen after Sanders lost to Clinton. And I was one of those people who just, stuffed it and said, it's too bad, Malloy, but you're going to vote for Hillary Clinton. You're not going to vote for, you're not going to withhold your vote. You're not going to vote for Jill Stein. You're not going to vote for Ralph Nader or anybody else who might be running on a third or fourth or 12th or 20th party ticket. So the more I thought about this last night, the more I thought about, you're not being consistent, Michael. This is not a contest for the presidency. This is how money is appropriated in this country. Who gets it? Who gets taxed to pay for things? How do they get taxed? Is the taxation fair? On and on and on. And the taxation in this country is not fair. We understand that. And the way the money is spent, when we're spending almost $1 trillion, if all the numbers were known, $1 trillion a year on death and destruction, weaponry, killing, bombs, drones, murder. And we can't agree within the Democratic Party on a $3.5 trillion human infrastructure plan and a $1.5 trillion roads and bridges plan. Something has gone terribly, terribly wrong. And it's not a time for anyone, I'm talking about myself, for anyone to cut and run, to try to find a compromise. There is no compromise here. Either we do what the Democratic Party has been talking about for 40 goddamn years. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. Yeah, a lot was done in the 60s and 70s. You're absolutely right. But those days are gone. They don't exist. And every bit of social democratic legislation that was passed and signed into law over those 20 years has been challenged and attacked and hacked at by these goddamn Republicans who are now the Christian fascist party in this country. And slowly, everything has just been nibbled at and bitten at. Meanwhile, the billionaires and millionaires have worked on the people in Congress to get the tax structure positioned in such a way that they don't pay shit. Nothing. Certainly not in comparison to what we working people pay. So I just want to restate, and I know there's a feeling, I have a feeling of going down with a sinking ship. I really do. But rather die standing up than groveling in the dirt, right? I listened to Cori Bush talk, Representative Cori Bush, about what she has to deal with in her district. I listen to these progressives when they talk about, no, we're not waiting any longer. We're not waiting any longer. We have waited for 30, 40, 50 years for this shit to manifest. Okay, not that long. There was a lot of progress made in the 60s and 70s, like I said. But the time for bullshit is gone. And in the process of trying to do what the vast majority of the American public wants done, there's a very good chance that it's going to be defeated, no matter what position the progressive wing of the Democratic Party takes. It's going to be defeated. It's not going to happen. And scum and slime like Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema and the entire Christian Fascist Party will be able to stand on the corpse of the rest of us and say, well, we wanted to make sure that the federal deficit didn't go too high. Isn't that what Manchin's song and dance has been? Let me see, I've got it here. Yeah, Manchin made clear yesterday that $1.5 trillion price tag that was not, the $1.5 trillion was what he was willing to settle, which moves him $2 trillion away from the lowest number the progressive Democrats have said they would accept. And Manchin said something that was very telling, and I just wish he would, I don't know what I think. I wish he would get the fuck out of the Democratic Party. I really do. Go join the Christian fascists. Yeah, that'll upset the balance of power. But at this point, it doesn't matter. Because here's what Manchin said, quote, I've never been a liberal in any way, shape, or form. I'm willing to come from 0 to $1.5 trillion, end quote. I've never been a liberal in any way, shape, or form. No, you haven't, you son of a bitch. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcasts. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com. And never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.